Tyler, can you hop up for a second? Can you give Tyler a So you remember this guy from last class who's sitting over here? So listen, you had the question, you had a really, really cool question. It was about, do you remember what it was about Black Pride?
Not exactly. Not exactly.
Well, it was something about you didn't understand why someone or how someone would feel pride just about their race, like their genetics or their DNA, right?
Yeah, like I understand the culture and where you come from. Like my family, my dad is first on his side of the family to go to college, and he became a physician, and I'm proud of that and that part of my family, immediate family. But when it comes to like white people in general, like I feel no tie to Albert Einstein or like other people.
All these white folks out here.
Like I can't say I'm proud of like all the individuals of white people.
Yeah.
But like my personal family, I understand that kind of pride.
Okay. So for me, that's a really cool question. This is a really cool thing, right? People wonder this. I have many conversations with people who are thinking about it. And so I thought, right at the end of class last week, I said, okay, we're going to do a class on that. Because somebody else who was sitting toward the front grabbed the microphone and responded to that, right? And, it doesn't. So we're going to have a conversation about Black Pride, and it doesn't have to be contentious, right? When do you immediately think like, oh man, could be
a little bit
contentious, right? But this is a great question, right? All of us, we're here because we want to know. We want to know what other people think. Like you want to know what people think. Tell me what is this thing about Black Pride? Like what is it? Help me understand how to think about it. And there are all sorts of things to understand how we think about it. We all don't know. There are many things we don't know. And I don't like that we're not knowledgeable about, right? Like I don't use the word ignorant because I don't like that word. That has become a really biting word, but it is a word that it's like we don't know. There's so many things I don't know. So we're going to today have an exploratory class where we explore that issue. Thanks to you, bro. Dude, that's it, man. So at the end of class, maybe I'll come back and I'll ask you, all right, what'd you get? Yeah. Oh, wait. So there's one person in the world who has shaped my teaching more than any other person. And she helped me to do two very, very, very important things that I want to say. So can you go to the next slide? So Dr. Mulvey, can you look at that photo? Come on up. Come on. Isn't that a great photo? Gracias.
Hang on. Why that photo, Sam?
Well, because I think that maybe you'll say something about how we met, and then that photo has resonance for that.
Okay.
But there are two things.
I just want to know how we went from Black Pride to me.
Because
it's like a bizarre transition.
Before we start, we're going to come back to
Awkward.
it. I like to introduce the class, like what we're going to do, and then we often go somewhere else, and then we're going to go back to Black Pride.
Okay.
But before we have our class, and really start in many ways this semester, I would like for you to kind of contextualize some of the stuff that we're doing here, okay? And so first off, Laurie, so we are married. Laurie's my wife. And that
yeah.
they keep applauding. I don't know why they keep applauding. Tomorrow, that photo was your bridal shower, right? That was when we got married. So you were 1993. 1993. And tomorrow's our anniversary, right? 31 years. So
Yeah.
See, they keep it. That's awesome. And check this out. Wait, check this out. We're going to do another applause. You ready?
Okay.
And last Tuesday,
No. Oh, no. Don't tell. Don't say it. All right, go ahead. Say it.
Lori.
Wait, there's a question over here, too.
Yeah, bro. Are you still married? Yeah, we are. Yeah. Well, we are.
Yes.
For the moment. Yeah,
That's true.
don't.
We do not have the same last name. If I would have taken his name, I would have been the same name as somebody I went to high school with. That just didn't seem cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what happened.
So, just real fast, we'll just do this and we'll get it out of the way. Last Tuesday, Laurie had her birthday. She turned 60.
60.
60. And today's my birthday. I'm 64, right? So it's awesome. Good. See that? Just applause. You know what I mean? Okay, so listen, there are two things that you have helped me with more than really that have been instrumental and radically, I think, having an impact on my teaching. One is how the value and then how to ask open-ended questions and that are thoughtful, and to, most importantly, to trust that everybody will be able to respond to them. And even when the conversation is about controversial issues, people will be able to respond to them, okay? Radically changed how I teach. The second is that in a university classroom, everybody needs to be challenged. And in some way, and regardless of what they believe and what they think they believe, and my job is to challenge them and challenge every single person, regardless of their political perspective, their ancestry, etc. So my question for you is, first question is, how did you arrive at that first point that people will respond even in controversial situations? How did you get there? That don't just ask people questions, though.
I don't know that I got there from it being controversial. My experience, it's all experience of talking to people for many, many years. Sam and I have been doing this kind of work together, dialogue and Social 119 for 30 years, right? And so that's a lot of people. It's a lot of talking. And what I've seen is that everybody has something to say about everything, right? Even if you don't think you do, there's always a connection or a feeling or a sketchy idea. And I've just seen that if I ask or invite, there's always something interesting. Even if the person thinks, oh, this isn't interesting or it's off topic, or it's always so relevant if you just listen. So,
and an addendum to that is when people say, I don't know, I don't have anything, you taught me to just go in and be like, no, you do. You have something. And then so often they come out with something. It happened last week.
It always happens. It always happens because we've all been schoolified, right? Where it's like there's an answer and a right answer. And if I don't have the right answer, or I don't know what answer you're looking for, like I'm not looking for an answer, me, we just want to know what you think, right? But we all have that schoolified thing where there's something, we're going to be evaluated, other people are going to see us as blah, blah, blah. No, just what you think something, because you're a human, you're alive, you're awake, and you're conscious. And so conscious meaning conscious, aware.
Especially
we all
in
know.
this, so that has been especially important in this class where people are so often afraid that if they don't get the right answer, then they'll be canceled or something.
Which is that's a real thing. It doesn't mean that there aren't consequences.
So when do you first remember being challenged about your beliefs? Like challenged to think differently about your beliefs or something? Yeah, like, we're challenging people in here.
Definitely.
When do you remember being challenged for the first time?
Always arguing with my friends. So I think there was some challenge in high school. You challenged my beliefs. Yeah.
And you challenged
That was college.
mine.
That was college.
Yeah.
That was late in college, just to say.
Yeah.
I didn't put myself in situations to have my beliefs challenged. My schools didn't challenge my beliefs. Like,
Yeah.
it's school. It's not really set up. It wasn't set up that way.
So you also challenged mine because I completely shifted the way I teach, because you gave me an understanding of how it works to engage people.
Yeah, and just to say, I'm kind of being shy when I say Sam challenged my beliefs, but truly, this meeting you and being challenged by you was the beginning of a profound transformation and probably evolution of the way I thought, the way I am in the world.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't understate it, because that challenge, as I see for most people, when something challenges you and you get that little annoying something in your heart or in your head, it usually works on you, and you have to reckon with it, and it starts to teach you things, whether you like it or not. And that is, to me, the value of a challenge, like your ideas, your beliefs, in contrast to someone else's. Because if you don't just push it aside and dismiss it, it's gonna make you learn, even without somebody telling you what you should think, especially without somebody telling you what you should think.
Okay, next question. So when you look out into the classroom...
How many questions are there?
There's
just so I know.
one more. This is the last one.
Good.
And you think about people who watch the streams or who watch the videos, and you say, you have this class. What do you see as what's possible, right? What's your ideal outcome for the experience that people can have with this class, which is, once again, what I've said to the class is really important, is I'm just setting up the structure. I'm following Laurie to set up the structure to have you talk to one another. So it really is decentering myself as much as possible. What's possible?
Well, before I say that, the best facilitator, when I'll call Sam a facilitator, in some of, not everything you do, but some of what you do, right? The best facilitator is invisible. And what I mean is, you don't really see what they're doing, and you don't really need to focus on what they're doing, even though they might interrupt you or redirect you. You don't really notice. And so I just have to say that that's an important part of this classroom, is that there's going to be a lot of conversations that you're not even going to pay attention to what Sam is doing. And that's great, right? So that's what's possible then, because you're getting the opportunity to hear different perspectives, is that you can reckon with things that you might not otherwise reckon with. JP, I just learned your name today.
Awesome. Man.
But hang on. But you know what else is possible? Is that you actually take in ideas that you think are morally wrong, and you actually seek the moral correctness of those ideas. And it might not be the way a person says it or coming from the particular person, right? But I would say the vast number of humans, the vast majority of people on the planet, actually have something to say and have something to offer. You might not like the packaging, but if you just can take yourself to find the moral correctness, if you will, in especially what your adversaries think and feel and believe, that's what is possible in this classroom.
That's cool.
And that doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but it means you can start building the world with them and people like them. That's the possibility in here.
Awesome.
All right. Now, can I sit down?
Thank you.
Is there anything else you
No,
need?
that's it. That's it.
Okay.
Well, listen, no, we should say something about how you're going to be
should.
in this class. Like, Laurie will sometimes be in the classroom, sometimes be actually in the room, and sometimes be in the back room, we think, and sometimes maybe be talking in my ear.
That's one of the ways, just to say, one of the ways that we've worked together. If you're facilitators at facilitators in World in Conversation used to be trained this way. It may happen in the future, where someone's observing them and talking to them in their ear, right? And helping and suggesting questions, suggesting directions or things that they're not noticing. And so I have done the same thing with Sam. I used to be up in that room and talking to him. And so we might do a little bit of that this semester as part of his retraining.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. Nice to see you all.
All right.
Social 19.
All right. You'll be back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back. D, what's up, man?
Hello, everyone. I'm back here. So I actually had one of the things that I thought is especially since this class.
Wait, hang on.
The mic is off. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Now we're working. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm back. So the question I wanted to ask is especially with how this class is structured, is one of the things that I think the biggest problem of today's conversation, you could say, of what's going on right now, is that people are far too emotionally attached or emotionally charged with their opinions, and whenever those opinions are challenged, rather than attempting to approach the question or challenge logically, they approach it emotionally. And since in this class this is a type of things we're going to be addressing here, how do you think we should overcome this problem?
Dude, here it is. Beautiful question. We're going to demonstrate it right now. Okay, it's like you can answer it really fast, but that's awesome. Can I have the volunteers come up while Laurie's answering this question?
I don't think it's a problem to be solved, but it is an observation to pay attention to, right? And some people have the ability, either because of how they operate or because of the nature of the issue, that for some people it is more emotional as much as it is intellectual or otherwise, right? And I think we just have to note that and wonder about it and even ask about it. Why does that make you so upset or so angry or so whatever? And somebody else can just approach it very rationally, right? But all of those things are relevant and important.
Dude, awesome answer. All right, the three of you, let me follow D here. Might you introduce yourselves? We can start with you.
I'm Ureli. I'm an early education major, and I'm a sophomore.
And where are you from?
I'm from Maryland, 5 minutes from Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hi, I'm Noor. I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm a first year, and I'm in civil engineering.
Hello, I'm Michael. I'm from New York City. Intended major is mechanical engineering, and I am a freshman.
A freshman? What year are you?
I'm a sophomore.
Sophomore. Wow, you're all so young. Okay, so now it's really interesting. So you all are 18, 19 years old. And so D, so keep in mind, right? We're just going to have a really as thoughtful a conversation as we can. This conversation would go very differently. That would go differently if we chose other people in the class. That's the nature of this. That's why it's so interesting. It's interesting for me. But Michael, I'm going to start with you. So when you hear the term black pride, okay, what do you think? What comes to mind?
Well, the first thing, maybe not the best thing that I think of, is all the protests that happened, especially around the time of the events relating to George Floyd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you think? Like when you say, like, first up, yeah, go ahead, say more.
Okay, so a lot of the stuff that I honestly saw online was there was a lot of like peaceful protests. A lot of people lobbying for change. For better treatment. A lot of things on cop on black like crime and like immoral things like that. But also a lot of things like just riots and like just things that weren't really related to the initial cause, I think.
So where's pride come in, though? Like, what do you?
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Can I go later?
No, that's fine. No, no, it's fine. You don't know. Like, what do you think, though? Think about, like, pride.
What do I think about pride?
Think about, black people sitting around being like, yeah, just talking about wearing a Black Pride T-shirt. What's that mean? If Noor has a Black Pride T-shirt on, what do you think it means?
Well, it could probably be something like they have pride in where they come from, their family, where they how they grew up, the situations they had to overcome, or just like if they relate to any of the causes or any like protests or any like people that are lobbying for change, anything like that.
Okay, that's cool. Or being proud to be from Scranton, man. Scranton's cool. What does it feel like when you think about Black Pride? Does it feel controversial to you? Like you, I mean, here, yeah. Let me just leave it there.
Definitely, yeah. There's people. I mean, we talked about this in a different class. It's like the difference between someone wearing a Black Pride shirt and like if a white person wore a white Pride shirt. There's always controversy because there's always people with different viewpoints, and they all see like the concept of Black Pride in a completely different way than someone else could see it. So someone could see it from a completely like neutral perspective, and someone could be like on the complete radical side of it, and they completely don't agree or something like that. So very different viewpoints.
Okay, that's cool. No, that's cool. That's a cool answer. Hey, what about first off, any answer is cool, right? Because the nature is we're exploring things. So we're getting as far away from the right and wrong, the better answer, the worse answer, that kind of thing. We're getting as far away from that as we can, because if we get stuck there, we can't have conversations, right? How is it, as for a white guy, being asked this question, being asked to say some things about Black Pride, and like, you know, looking out and seeing all the black students here? And think, how is that for you?
Definitely hard, because this is just not something that I do, right? I don't really follow, like, I would consider this to be sort of politics. I don't really follow politics. I'm not really up to date on a lot of current events. I know all the big things that happen, but I don't really have a very concrete opinion on this. I'm not very well versed in like topics like this, but you know, I have my opinions here and there, but nothing too crazy that some people might have that are more invested in or know a lot more about it than me.
But yeah, you said some people, and it really is some people, because you, I'm sure, represent the average white person who would, if they would be asked this question about Black Pride, they would give answers very similar to yours. It's like, yeah, well, it's a thing. It's like, you know, which is perfectly fine. There's no need to go beyond that. Hey, Noor, what do you think about his answers?
I mean, like, it just seems like he doesn't know a lot about like where Black Pride comes from, which is fair, because what I know about Black Pride, like, I had to go out of my way to learn about it. Like, I learned about it from my family. I read about it online, but like, it's not like in American history books or anything like that. So he would have to go out of his way to learn about it. And he said he doesn't even really follow politics that much, so I don't really expect him to go out of his way to learn about Black Pride.
Yeah, right. If you're saying, if she's saying, hey, I had to go out of my way to learn about it, like I had to get it from other people around me, right? So therefore, yeah, I think this is when, is your sense that a lot of white people, I have the sense, and I wonder what you think about this, a lot of white people feel like maybe they don't want to talk about stuff because they should know more, and then they feel kind of bad that they don't know more, you know, like, oh, I should know, like I'm a bad white person or something because I don't have opinions about things and I'm not paying attention. And do you have any thought? Do you see that, or how do you see that?
I mean, I grew up in a lot of suburbs, so I've definitely met a lot of white people. So I'd probably say, yeah, like if they don't really know something, they don't really want to get in trouble for it, so they don't really say anything.
Mm-hmm. Right, similar to how, so for you, there are all sorts of things that you don't know, right? That you're not going to just go out and publicly talk about them because it's like, well, I'm kind of not very knowledgeable about that. So what does Black Pride mean for you? But first off, what's your ancestry?
So I am Black American. I'm also Jamaican, but I grew up in America. So, yeah. But Black Pride to me, I kind of think of history. So if we go back to like the 60s, the civil rights movement, I think about like Martin Luther King and like how he fought for a lot of people's civil rights and a lot of civil rights leaders of the time. And then I also think of the 70s because like after Black people were given more civil rights, they still weren't exactly accepted into society. And I feel like part of that is because they didn't have any specific culture. Like, if you are African American, like descended from the African slave trade in America, you lose like so much of that culture. So you don't know what country you come from. So you can only really, if you're not socially accepted, you can only really find community in people who look like you and have similar like behaviors and cultures as you.
Bro, you heard that, right? That's a really important point. Tyler, you heard that, right? That's really important. So to reiterate, I'm going to summarize what you said. People of African ancestry in the diaspora who became part of the slave trade, became slaves, really are from almost entirely from West Central Africa, that region. And so, people don't know the tribes. And we're doing DNA ancestry testing. So we're biogeographical ancestry testing. So we're like being able to isolate for many people exactly what part of Africa they're from. But we still don't know what the group, the ethnic group, the ancestry, the tribal group, like we don't know. So, there's a way in which you just sort of are linked together, right? Hey, let me ask you this. How often do you hear the term Black Pride or use it, I could say?
I don't really use it that much. Like, I am proud to be Black. I love my history. I love my family. I love all the people that I connect to from being Black. But, like, I don't really think about it that much. Maybe on, like, Juneteenth. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Does everyone know what Juneteenth is?
No, they don't all know what Juneteenth is. They don't all know. Do you want to say?
So after the Civil War, like, all slaves were supposed to be free, but in Texas, they didn't really let people go until June 19th. So then we celebrate, like, freedom from slavery on Juneteenth.
So, hang on, I had a question. You said, oh man, my mind went blank. So you said, I have a pride, I feel proud of where I came from or my race or something, right? Is that what you said? I feel proud about who I am.
Yeah, like I'm proud to be Black.
My history, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you mean proud to be Black? Like, what's that mean?
I mean, for me personally, I'm actually like super kind of involved in the civil rights movement, at least in my family, because my great-grandfather, he was like a preacher who marched with Martin Luther King Jr., so I'm kind of connected to it in that way. And also just like learning about the history, it's just really important to me.
So what are you proud of, though? Like, because this is what Tyler was saying the other day, but what are you proud about, right? Do you have that question, bro? Like, I mean, we're two white guys. Yeah. Like, I can't even take my mind anywhere close to being proud, even of my history. I mean, there are a lot of white people who connect to their ancestral roots, right? Irish, Italian, that sort of. What's your ancestry? Do you know?
I am Eastern European.
Do you know what country?
Belarus.
Belarus. Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Do you feel some connection to Belarus?
Not even a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you mean you feel? Yeah. What do you mean by that? Just like give us a thought for a second. Like help us see that. No one's ever asked you that, right? You probably haven't thought about it. Like, okay, so what do you mean? Like, I'm proud of my. You said I'm proud of my history. Like what?
I'm proud of like the community that Black people have been able to build, even after like having pretty much all of their culture taken away from them.
The community, yeah. That's big, right? Do you, wait, hang on. I'm gonna hit pause right here, okay? I'm gonna go through some slides. So I wanna just show you, this seems like the perfect moment to show these slides, okay? So first of all, do you know where this, does anyone know where this comes from? The We Are chant? Does anyone know? the story of it? You know the story? Here. Can you, I know the story, but do you want to tell the story? Can you tell it? I think you know it.
So
Can Yellow will pick you up.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
what I know about it is that we had a black player on our football team, and a opposing football team wouldn't play us because of that. And the other Penn State students said, "We are one. We will play together, or we won't play at all." And they ended up not playing because the other team didn't want to play with a black person on our team. And they all stuck together. Penn State stuck together.
Yeah, and you can see him in the photo there, Wally Triplett. So here's the thing. They were invited to a bowl game, and they had to be segregated. They had to leave their black players at home, and so they didn't go to the bowl game. Penn State didn't play. And then they were playing in the Cotton Bowl in 1947 in the season, and they were playing in Texas, and Penn State was told, you can't bring your black players. And Penn State, the players got together, and the one of the Penn State players said, well, then we're all going to go because we are Penn State. We are Penn State. And so that's where that comes from. And so think about in 1947, right, saying like your black players aren't going to play, right? And Penn State was, that was the first black player that played in the NFL, by the way. Go to the next slide. And look at these poverty rates. In 1960, look at African American poverty rates. In 1960, this is so when I'm born, 55% of all black people in the United States were considered to be poor. Now, mind you, that's a fairly high number for white people, but it's nothing like black people. And if you go to the next slide. 1960, the percent of families who were living in poverty areas, meaning poor areas of cities, who were themselves poor, 72%. And that would include Scranton, by the way, parts of Scranton. 72%. So when Noor says, hey, I feel proud for how far we've come. And that's what you're talking about. If you go to the next slide. In here it's 1960, right? People, you say your great-grandfather marched with MLK to have basic rights, right? So here it is. And then the dogs come out. And now, go to the next slide. In 1968, here we go. Black power. Because, in 8 years, not just 8 years, but in a very short period of time, black Americans were succeeded in getting just an immense number of rights. We had far to go. And by the way, look at that dude's hat, man. That's just so cool. I remember those years. But this is it, right? So when you're saying that, that's what you're talking about, right? Mia. Wait. No. Yareli. Is it Yareli?
Ureli.
Yareli? Okay. So you're Puerto Rican.
Yes.
And I'm looking at your face, right? So you have black blood also. I can see. Do you see that? How do you identify? Just as Puerto Rican?
I'm just Puerto Rican. I'm racially mixed. Like my dad's black. He's a black Puerto Rican. My mom's a white Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm. So what's black pride mean for you?
I don't know my dad. But
what is it for you? Can you go back to that slide? Yeah.
It just means you're proud to be black, in my opinion.
What's that?
I don't know. You're just proud to be black. You're proud of your culture. You're proud of.
What's it mean for you, though?
For me?
Yeah. Do you does it resonate in any way for you?
No.
Yeah? What resonates? Because you're half black. Your dad's a black Puerto Rican.
I don't know my black. I don't know my dad.
Oh, you don't know your dad.
I don't know that part of my
life.
life.
Okay. So that's just kind of. But you. So when you see yourself, you're not. Do you ever think about?
I see myself as Hispanic, not
okay.
black.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to stay with this for a second. it's interesting. Do people look at it? It's like, okay, hang on, I'm going to take a step back, right? You know, like Barack Obama, he was our black president, but Barack Obama was half white. Why is he our black? Why isn't he our white? Why is he our black president when he's only half black? Why isn't he our black-white president, our mixed president? Why isn't he something? Why is he immediately black? So oftentimes there's that complexity when you're mixed in the way that you are. That people sort of push you into one. You're going to get pushed into one category or another, right? Am I right on? Would you?
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Do you see that for yourself?
No one has ever told me I was black.
No, but mixed. But you see yourself as mixed.
Yeah, but I've never been pushed to one side.
So, how about Puerto Rican pride?
Yeah.
What's Puerto Rican pride mean?
Proud to be Puerto Rican. I love my culture.
And is it Puerto Rico? Is it the ancestry? So I'm thinking about what Noor said, and I'm wondering, like, what?
It's
What
the
in
island,
particular are
it's
you
the people, it's the community,
So it's like it's the whole thing.
the whole thing.
Is you can help me understand for Latinos, okay? So Latino, Hispanic is a sociological category, not a racial category, okay? So to be really clear, so people say in Puerto Rico, if you're from Puerto Rico, you have many lineages coming in. First off, the original peoples of the island who came across the Bering Strait in Canada, out of Asia, and came down through the Americas and ultimately ended up on the islands. And the main groups in that region are the Taino people, for example, okay? So you have that DNA. You have African DNA from the slave trade, and then you have European DNA or genetics or ancestry coming from Europe, right? So it's a mix of many things, and you have all, right? Like I can see. Like one thing, just so you know, I spend a lot of time studying faces. So like I'm always looking at faces to try to see where people are going. So I look at your face, and I'm just seeing different areas of the world, like the admixture that makes up you. Okay, is that uncomfortable? Is it? No. It's okay.
I just don't know what to say.
No, that's
like,
okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. No. It's not. No, it's just an isness thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, when you say Puerto Rican pride, it's really about the culture and the nationality. And so
I think that goes for both. Like I didn't say Puerto Rican pride. You said Puerto Rican pride. But I just think pride, like black pride, and if you want to throw in Puerto Rican pride, it's just loving your culture, loving where you're from, your community, what you made, where you came from. It's not just, oh, I like my skin color.
Yeah, for sure. No. It's that's the thing. It's really never about that. And that what happens is, and I think that yes, the other day with Tyler, they were saying, like, wait, what is this thing about black pride? No, it's not about being black. It's not about like being black, right? It's actually about a connection to the history and to what we see in the culture we built and everything that is Puerto Rico, for example, right? How about so here's what I wanted to go back to. Among people of Hispanic or Latino ancestry is best that you can say, right? See if you have an opinion on this, or see if you have heard this. How many Hispanics or people who are Latino who are black, have you heard people talk about black pride, or is it just mostly Hispanic or Latino pride? Because there's Latin pride too, man. Latin pride is a huge thing. Like we had an event here at Penn State called the Latin Pride event for 20 years,
I mean, I know black Hispanics, and I've never heard them say black pride, like talk about that. They kind of just talk about their Hispanic you know,
Yeah. So
Latino
it's,
pride or Hispanic pride. I've never seen a Black Hispanic talk about Black pride.
yeah.
I
yeah.
mean, they probably do, but I haven't seen it.
No, listen, I really do. I don't either, really. It's almost like Hispanic, the culture trumps something else. No, it's like it's more dominant than the other, than another perspective. That's what I mean, right? So I want to ask Noor, I want to go back to you. How does class enter into it? Like you identified as being upper middle class, right?
Yeah.
And you play the oboe, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Dude, what's it like playing the oboe, by the way?
I mean, I started playing in 5th grade. I played up until high school. Have not played since.
Yeah.
So
Did you rap your own reeds and all?
no.
Yeah.
It's,
All right.
it's really hard to do that.
Okay, so how does that play in? How does class enter into the conversation about Black Pride?
I think it definitely is a part of it, but also at the same time, like, I've grown up in a very privileged environment. Like, I don't know, I've never really had to think about class. And I guess because I don't think about class, normally I don't really think about it in relation to Black Pride.
Yeah, it's kind of, I'm wondering, yeah, I wonder, right? Like when a lot of times when we talk about this, there's just kind of, What would any of you say, you can weigh in on this too, or you can weigh in on it, anybody. What would you say to people who feel alienated by people continuing to use this term Black Pride, like talking about, hey, I'm really proud to be Black?
I'd say don't feel alienated.
Don't feel alienated. Like, why
Like-
not? Like, why? Like, how do you see it? For example, like, you don't feel alienated, right? So why don't you feel alienated?
No, because I have my own culture. I have my own pride, and if you want to
Wait, hang on.
if you want to have your pride, then you go. And Black people, like she said, there's so much history that comes from it. Like, they have gone through so much. There's so much, like, it's not just, it didn't just come out the blue and they're like, oh no, I have Black pride. Like, no, there's a lot of history that goes into it. And if you feel alienated, then that's your fault. Like, you have your own culture, you have your own stuff.
But what if,
Do that.
okay, so, all right, so what if they don't? Like Michael here, look at him, man. He's this American guy. I mean, that's your culture, right? American culture.
Well, I wasn't born here, but I grew up here, so I guess, yeah.
So are you proud about anything?
No.
Yeah. You're not, like, you don't think about being an American. You're an immigrant because you weren't born here, right?
Yeah.
You don't feel proud about that?
About being an immigrant?
Yeah, about just being an American. You got here, you're here with your family.
Well, I think I would be more proud of the whole immigrant status because my parents, I mean, we didn't really have anything. Well, we had stuff back there, but, like, for example, my mom, she came here with zero knowledge in English. And then, so basically we had to build from that. So I'm proud of that, but that doesn't really connect to a culture. That doesn't really connect to being American or really being Belarusian for me. It's kind of just a connection to my family.
And that's not white pride. See, like, what happens is white people, when we hear Black, then we start thinking, wait a minute, why can't I have white pride? Because white people are thinking that Black pride is about race. Puerto Rican pride or Hispanic pride, we know it's not about race, right? So that's pretty easy. But we have the idea that Black pride is all about feeling proud of being Black, but it's not about that. And so when white people say, wait, why can't I be proud to be white? What I'm hearing is that, no, because what are you proud of about being white? We be proud of something that's more culture related, like where you're at, where you're from, where you came from, this kind of thing. But what is there about being white that it really is the thing? Is that what I'm getting from you all? Right? Do you have anything you would add to that, Noor? Like, what would you say to white people who are like, hey, I want to be proud too? Or did I just say it?
I mean, I feel like you mostly said it. Like, just be proud of where you're from, not your race.
Yeah.
Because it was never really about race in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I hear white pride and like people who say they're proud to be white, I do kind of just think of like weird racial purity things like Nazis and stuff. So, like, maybe don't say white pride. Like, you can be proud to be like, I don't know, like stereotypically white, but like maybe just say it in a different way. Think about your words, you know?
Mm-hmm. Because we know the white pride has certain meaning. It has been co-opted to have certain meaning. Yeah, and then because of that, then it has like it just takes us to another place.
I was just thinking about the class question that you asked. I just wanted you to bring it back into the conversation because I was thinking one of the things, Noor, is you were talking about the struggle or a struggle or knowing that black people, the community that they've created out of the struggle and all of the things that you mentioned. I'm thinking about the poor white community and the struggles and the ways, in particular, in the context of white privilege and the ways that we talk about that now. I wonder, I'm also thinking about could people like this be proud of the fact that they're still taking care of their families and doing all these things underneath, first of all, being poor white people, not privileged or even middle class white people. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out and also people who don't necessarily have a connection to Italy, Ireland, Scotland, whatever. The only connection that they have to each other is maybe that they're white. It's like, so what you're saying is like, I'm just wondering, where does that fit in the conversation?
Okay, beautiful question. Anyone have a response to that? And maybe somebody else in the class could take this too, but if you're white, you're really living among white people. You don't have power. You don't, you're poor, okay? And so, like Scranton poor, outside of Scranton poor, right?
I do have to be honest, I'm not like from Scranton, I am from the suburbs.
No, that's fine, but you know the areas around Scranton.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of white poverty. And so what Laurie is asking, well, what if though you're saying, look, I'm getting all of this hate directed at me. So black people got a lot of hate directed at them. And black people responded through the civil rights movement and through organizing and so on, and really forced a change on to the whole social and economic system of the United States, which is something to be really kind of proud of. But poor white people who are themselves experiencing, they don't have that privilege and the power because they are poor and they are white. And we know what privilege looks like and power looks like. And privilege and power doesn't always have a color because privilege and power is about people with privilege and power. And so what about, then Laurie's asking, what about white people who are, no, this is just what they see and they're not connected to their ancestry. They're just like, no, I'm proud to be who I am. And what am I? I'm white. What about that? How does that fit in? Any thoughts on that at all? Michael, do you?
Are they proud of being white, or are they proud of, like, she was talking about, like, the class? Are they proud of coming out of poverty? Like, what are they proud of?
I think they're proud of probably their...
Hang on one second. Yep. I'm not saying that this is true. I mean, I'm sure there's people that feel proud of taking care of their families and all that. I'm just adding in the controversial nature of when we start talking about pride, right? And how the conversation about black pride goes to white pride, goes to other pride, and then we have to actually ask ourselves the questions that I think, Nora, you're really speaking so well to about a struggle.
Yeah.
What just happened? So just really not like, what are people being...
Dude, just reach around you and do that. All right, that's all right.
Wait,
Go
what?
ahead. No, you're okay.
What
the guy
happened?
behind you is taking a little nap. That's all right. He's awake now though. Yeah. And he was up on the.
Sorry about that. So I'm just asking us to just say like more about where does this pride come from? I hear you saying about Puerto Rican pride. What is it? Is it? But it's like there's something about a struggle that's connected to pride so far that I'm hearing, and
Yeah.
so I'm just asking to complexify, not to make equivalent one struggle with another.
So I can see, following this, as someone who grew up in the white working class, I absolutely can see being to the place where I would feel this being like a survivor and just like white pride, man, like, and just almost as como like like the Black Pride fist, right? Like the white pride fist, just because I'm a survivor as a white person who I'm seen as, if I'm seen as all that's wrong with so many things, it's like, no, but I got this. Like, and so, but I think we critique so much. So, you're just putting that out there. What about them? Go ahead, Noor, do you have?
I mean, I feel like if you're poor and you're white and then you get out of poverty, especially if you're American, like that's supposed to be a part of the American dream, and it has less to do with you being white.
What if you're still in poverty, though, when you're just surviving? Because when I see a lot of white people who talk about white pride, I see a lot of poor white people talking about white pride. They're not rich people. They're poor people. And they're trying to establish something here.
I mean, if you're struggling and like you think that all these other people are doing better than you because of their race,
Yeah.
and they get all these benefits that you don't see yourself getting, like I feel like you're gonna claw at anything that you can that would make you feel better in any way,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't really do anything for you. So even if you're like voting against your own interest, but the person you're voting for says like white pride, like you should be proud to be yourself
Yeah.
or whatever,
Then you go there.
it'll make you feel better.
Yeah.
So that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah. Somehow
Even if it's not true.
it'll help to justify who you are. Hey, are there any people, any Africans? Is there an African who's willing to talk? Bro. Yeah. Do you want to, bro, can you hop up here? Can you just come up for a sec? Dude, he was just a little bit more handsome than you, man. All right, dude. So, can you just scoot down just a little bit? What's your name?
Dixon.
Dixon. Where are you from?
I'm from Liberia.
Liberia. So, do you guys talk about Black Pride in Liberia? Is this a conversation? Is this a term that people use in West Africa?
So yeah, when I was listening to the conversation, I was thinking about this, right? Because in Liberia, black people are the majority, right? So we don't think of being black as like what he was saying. It's not something that you're proud of. You're more proud of being Liberian.
Yeah, so hold the mic close. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so you're more proud of your nationality than your race.
So kind of like what Yureli was saying.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Like, So you don't, it's like nothing, you don't hear this.
No, so I came here at 12 and I had to like learn about most of like what black people here went through.
Dude, hang on a second.
There you go.
Let me see. Hold it like that. Put your thumb on and just hold it like that.
Just like that.
No, like this. No, you're on, but hold your thumb like that and just hold your thumb against your
Why is this hard?
like this. No. Grab it like that. Put your right hand over it. No, like up there.
Like that?
Yeah, and then just hold your thumb right there.
All right.
There you go.
All right.
And then you just hold it like that. See if you hold it just like that, then you stay
All right.
close.
Okay,
go ahead.
What was the question again?
The question is, man, I don't remember. Do people?
Yeah, if the fact that I don't know. I was in Liberia. Does that change my experience? Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah, do
with
people
Black
use
Pride?
the term? Yeah. No, you were saying when I came here at 12, I was learning about.
Yeah. Oh, I had to learn about like slavery and all of that because our history in Liberia is a lot different than the history that's taught here, right? So there we're learning about how slaves from here, like how they did this great thing to come over there and build Liberia. But then here, I'm learning about the slavery, right? I'm learning about all of that, and I'm like, oh, I didn't see myself as a slave. I didn't think about that.
You didn't see that like these slaves who were taken to the Americas came from the West
Yeah,
Coast.
I didn't know
including
much about the
Liberia.
Middle Passage.
Yeah.
Right, I had to learn about like the boats, the experiences that they went through.
So when you first started hearing Black Pride, what did that mean to you?
I'm gonna be honest.
Dude, be honest.
Not much. I'm not gonna lie, and it's taken years because I've been here for I would say like almost 10 years. So it's taken time for me to kind of become a part of African American culture here, right? So like I wanted to be open-minded about it. So it took time, but at first, no.
So, Michael, or Ureli, don't you? Are you curious when he says it's taken time to become a part of African American culture? Does your mind go to like, what do you mean by that? This would be the question. Like, wait, can you give an example? Like, or no, Michael, do you have a?
So you said, does it confuse me when he says that, right? But to me, it makes sense because I feel like the culture is here for African Americans and African culture, well, in Liberia, right? I feel like it's very different because, like he said, there's different histories. So to me, it does make sense that obviously there would be a different culture. He would have to be like he would have to learn about the culture and then be a part of it. It's not like something that as soon as he moved here, he was already part of it. It's very different. It's like if you're from Ireland and then an Irish person being compared to someone that's like American Irish, they're not going to be the same people. They're not going to have the same thoughts, the same culture, the same identity.
Yeah, good point. So, wait, Dixon. So what does Black Pride mean? What do you think black people mean when they say Black Pride? So don't think about, scoot down. Don't think about what Noor said. Go back to before we had this class. What are black Americans talking about?
I think when African Americans talk about Black Pride, I think it's more about coming out of struggle. I think it's more of a struggle thing, right? Like having ancestors that went through something that traumatic.
Yeah.
Right? That can bring people together. So that's how I see Black Pride. I see it as sort of being related to the people, like kind of what Nora was talking about.
Okay.
Right? Kind of being related to the people that went through something that difficult.
Okay, but now what do you say to African Americans who are rich?
Well, I mean, it's still part of the pride, right?
It's part of the pride.
Back in the day, it would have been a lot difficult. Like when you're talking about like the black athlete on that team, right? It was always difficult for black people, right? And it's taken time, but they've gotten there.
So it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. There's something in the cultural ethos and the history that you're relating to, that you're saying like, no, this is this.
I'll almost
matters.
say like the like when you're talking about like the class, right? I would say people in higher socioeconomical class, right? Say athletes and stuff like that. I say those people
hang on. No. Business bank owners and business people. Don't equate rich black people with being athletes.
Okay.
Bank owners, business owners,
All right. So like affluent people who say graduated from university.
Yeah.
All right. So if we're using, I would say that's even pushing to my point more, right? That they came out of this really like their history, right? Didn't really set them up for a lot of successes. Right? We can all see that and be like, yeah, that's right. It didn't set them up for that, but they've clawed their way up and they've gotten to a point where they can say that. They can say that they have people in higher classes,
Okay.
right? So I
right.
think that also comes together to show that there's something to be proud of there as an African American.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fair.
That's just looking from the outside as like an African.
As an African,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Looking at that, I'm proud of them that they've gone through all of that.
And an African who himself doesn't have this natural inclination, didn't grow up with this sense of like, you should feel proud of being, but didn't people tell you should feel proud to be African?
Not really, no.
Yeah? Just
No.
Liberian more so.
I'm just a Liberian. We have our own culture, and I'll be honest with you, most of like my African culture, the people there, I think even African Americans know this, like there's a little conflict with African Americans and African,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
even from my parents, it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
You're right. So Africans. Maybe we'll have a conversation in class about this. Hey, hey, so you're really, one of the things I was thinking about, when people say, talk about Hispanic pride or Puerto Rican pride or whatever, right? Which, I wonder if they're more speaking to, how often people are speaking to other Hispanics, right? Like if let's say I'm Puerto Rican and I'm like, yeah, I feel this proud to be Puerto Rican. Is my pride more directed to, who's it directed toward more so? I'm just wondering, like for me, if it's directed more toward other Hispanics or just toward whoever, I don't know, it's just a thought in my mind. Yeah. No, if I'm a Puerto Rican and I'm feeling like, yeah, I feel this pride about being Puerto Rican.
Okay.
Who am I directing who do I want to say that to more so? The world or other Hispanic people who are not Puerto Rican? That's just a question that I'm wondering.
I guess you just say
It wouldn't matter.
it wouldn't matter. I mean, Puerto Ricans, we carry our flag everywhere. It's in every
Yeah.
single one of my like cars at home.
Dude,
it's on our house.
it's
If you go to Puerto
every-
Rico, you're gonna see it the second you
Yeah.
land.
Yeah,
It's-
exactly.
And then when you're here, I'm proud to say to everyone, I'm like, oh yeah, like, and
Puerto Rican.
I'll tell anyone.
Do you feel?
It's not directed toward
do you
only
feel
Hispanics.
But do you feel like as Puerto Rican? Do you feel like a little separate from other Hispanics? Like there's something because
Yeah.
Puerto Rico's a really unique place.
Yeah, it's like he said, Africans and African Americans. He said like there was like controversy or they're like separated. It's like that with like Puerto Ricans and then like a different Hispanic.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, that's cool. Hey, Myrtle Lee from the YouTube says, so instead of asking why are you proud to be black, you could ask, what are some of the things that make you proud to be black? Yeah, I like that. That's cool. I like that. I think we've given some stuff here. We got to do the quiz. Is there one more question and then we're going to do the quiz? Shame of being white. We're going to, Vamp, we're going to come back to that question. All right. Hey, can you pull your phones out really fast? Hey, first off, nice job, y'all. Give your phone. Hey, nice job.
Should we get him as a volunteer as well? I think I signed up for the volunteer.
Hey, for example, so here, do this. You got everyone on? You good? If you can't do it, take a selfie. All right? If for some reason you can't get online, take a selfie. All right, man, we'll see you all on Thursday.